man, it's a pleasure to hang. If all you can talk is guff, go talk it to the devil.
Interesting facts about famous people.
Hanging westerns. I was hanging around today, trying to think of my next western video. So what better than a video about westerns that have a hangin? Seems like a pretty obvious one, as hanging was a common occurrence in the Wild West, a popular way of dispatching justice. Let me know in the comments if there are any obvious movies I missed. If you enjoyed this video, hit the notification button to get my new videos. If you want to check out my many other videos, head over to my channel. The link is in the description. Let's get into it in no particular order. Hang 'em High, 1968. You better be sure. A band of vigilantes catch Jed Cooper, Clint Eastwood, and, incorrectly believing him guilty of cattle rustling and murder, hang him, and leave him for dead. But he doesn't die. He returns to his former profession of lawman to hunt down his lynchers and bring them to justice. Once Upon a Time in the West, 1968. What comes around, goes around. Harmonica and Frank engage in a final showdown. Through a flashback, it is revealed that Frank had once hanged Harmonica's older brother, forcing the younger brother to support him on his shoulders. Just before the panting boy collapses under the weight, Frank had forced a harmonica into his mouth, telling him to keep your loving brother happy. Harmonica beats Frank to the draw. As he lies dying, Frank again asks Harmonica's identity, and Harmonica places the instrument in Frank's mouth. Frank remembers, nods his head, and dies. The Quick and the Dead, 1995. Revenge is sweet. Sharon Stone, the lady, rides into a small and depressing prairie town with a secret. Doc Wallace finds the lady at a nearby cemetery and tells her that he recognizes her and knows why she is there. Flashbacks reveal that the lady's real name is Ellen. Her father was the marshal in Redemption, until Herod's gang invaded and lynched him. Herod gave Ellen a pistol and 3 shots to try and shoot the rope, but she accidentally killed him. She fled town. Doc hands Ellen her father's old badge and begs her to rid the town of Herod.
That's close enough.
The Hanging Tree, 1959. It's right in front of you. Seeing his opportunity to remove his competition, Grubb incites a mob to lynch Frail. They carry him to the hanging tree, tie his hands, and place the rope around his neck. Rune and Elizabeth rush in with gold and the deed to their claim. Elizabeth offers everything to the townsfolk if they will let Frail live. Elizabeth has repaid Frail in full. Rune slips the noose off. Elizabeth turns to walk away. Frail calls out. She turns back, steps to the end of the wagon. He kneels down, cups her chin in both hands, and they touch heads together, acknowledging their love.
Elizabeth!
The gold and set me free. And I walked away from the hanging tree. I walked away from the hanging tree. And my own true love, she...
Johnny Guitar, 1954. Careful who you meddle with. Vienna has built a saloon outside of town, and she hopes to build her own town once the railroad is put through. But the townsfolk want her gone. Vienna stands strong against them, aided by the presence of an old acquaintance of hers, Johnny Guitar, who is not what he seems. Emma persuades the men to hang Vienna and Turkey, burns the saloon down. At the last second, Vienna, though not Turkey, is saved from hanging by Johnny Guitar. Vienna and Johnny escape the posse and find refuge in Dancing Kid's secret hideaway.
You'll have to do it yourself, Emma.
Cat Ballou, 1965. 9 lives. Cat poses as a prostitute and confronts Sir Harry Percival. She attempts to force him into confessing that he ordered her father's murder. A struggle ensues, Sir Harry is killed, and Cat is sentenced to be hanged. With Sir Harry dead, Wolf City's future is hopeless, and the townspeople have no mercy for Cat. As the noose is placed around her neck, Uncle Jed, disguised as a preacher, appears and cuts the rope just as the trapdoor opens. Cat safely falls through and onto a wagon, and her gang spirit her away in a daring rescue. Lonesome Dove, 1989. Tough love. Although Spoon disagrees, the gang leader bullies and threatens Spoon into submission. When one of the dying wranglers is rescued by the cowboys, Call leads a posse to search for the thieves. Gus and Call quickly capture the robbers and prepare to hang them. With his last words, Jake Spoon admits that it is better to be hanged by his friends than by strangers. Jake, with his head in the noose, then spurs his own horse, which causes it to run from underneath him, effectively hanging himself, much to the shock and dismay of his former friends. Bandalero, 1968. Seeing an opportunity. D. Bishop and his gang of robbers arrive at Valverde with the intention of robbing a bank. The heist goes wrong and a shootout with the local authorities ensues. During it, gang member Babe Jenkins kills a wealthy civilian and the gang gets arrested. D's brother, Mace Bishop, meets the hangman sent to execute the gang and learns of what happens in Valverde. Stealing the hangman's clothing and imitating his way of talking, Mace steals his identity and goes to Valverde with the intention of freeing D from the gallows. The day of execution, he convinces local sheriff, July Johnson, to take every attendant's gun with the excuse of having a safer event and manages to help the gang escape. The Westerner, 1940. Business as usual. In 1882, the town of Vinegaroon, Texas, was run by Judge Roy Bean, who calls himself the only law west of the Pecos, conducting trials from his saloon. Bean makes a corrupt living collecting fines and seizing property unlawfully. Those who stand up to him are usually hanged, receiving what Bean calls suspended sentences. The Good, the Bad and the Ugly, 1966. Just another day. Tuco is rescued from more bounty hunters by a drifter, whom he calls Blondie. Blondie delivers Tuco to a sheriff and collects his $2,000 bounty. As Tuco is about to be hanged, Blondie severs the noose by shooting it and setting him free. The two escape and split the bounty. They repeat the process in other towns until Blondie grows weary of Tuco's complaints and strands him in the desert. The Oxbow Incident, 1943. A tortured ending to 3 innocent lives. Martin claims that he purchased the cattle from Kincaid, but received no bill of sale. No one believes Martin, and the posse decides to hang the 3 men at sunrise. When dissent develops among some members of the group, a vote is taken on whether to hang the trio or take them to town to stand trial. Only 7 voted for the latter. After the lynching, the posse returns to Bridges Wells. On the way they encounter the town's sheriff, Risley, who reveals Kincaid is not dead and that the men who shot him have been arrested. Risley then asks Davies who is responsible for the lynching. All but 7, Davies replies, and the sheriff angrily declares, "God better have mercy on you. You won't get any from me." Back to the Future 3, 1990. A harsh beginning. Marty travels back to 1885 to save Doc, arriving amidst a cavalry pursuit of Native Americans, tearing the car's fuel line in the process. Chased by a bear, he is knocked out and found by his Irish-born great-great-grandparents, Seamus and Maggie McFly. who allow him to stay for the night. The next morning, under the alias Clint Eastwood, he arrives in Hill Valley, but runs afoul of Buford and his gang. Buford tries to hang Marty, but Doc rescues him. Pursued, 1947, climatic ending. On learning that Jeb survived the slaughter, Mrs. Callum adopted him, out of guilt. Thor pleads with her mother not to allow Jeb to be hanged, stating there is still time to make up for her actions. As Grant is about to hang Jeb, Mrs. McCullum shoots him dead. She asks for and receives forgiveness from Jeb and Thor, and advises them to look to the future and enjoy their lives together.
I'm sorry.
True Grit, 2010. While on a trip to Fort Smith, Arkansas, 14-year-old Mattie Ross's father is murdered by hired hand Tom Cheney. Sent to collect her father's body, Mattie asks the local sheriff about the search for Cheney. He tells her that Cheney has likely fled with Lucky, Ned Pepper, and his gang into Indian territory where the sheriff has no authority. So she inquires about hiring a deputy US Marshal. The sheriff gives 3 recommendations, and Mattie chooses the meanest of the 3, Rooster Cogburn. Mattie finds Rooster at a public hanging. Cogburn initially rebuffs her offer, doubting both her grit and her wealth, but she raises the money by aggressive horse trading.
Don't make a word, Grub. Blood will have blood.
You'll have to do it yourself.
Sorry.
I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think in the comments. I appreciate your likes and subscribers. Hit the notification button to get my new videos. Take a look at my channel and check out my Facebook page. The links are in the description. I am Wrangler. Bye for now. See you again soon.
Interesting facts about famous people.